our guys are really looking forward to this week. Got a great opportunity right here at our home stadium at Ray J, hosting Florida. I know we're expecting a great crowd after a year last year with no fans allowed. I think our guys are really looking forward to that. I think the big focus for us this week and this weekend was really to learn from the mistakes last Thursday, and going back and watching the film. There's a lot of things to correct, and ultimately we didn't execute. We had plays that were there, and at the end of the day, you got to execute. And if you don't execute against a really good team like NC State, then the game can get away from you, and that's exactly what happened. So really, that's our message to our guys, is to learn from that experience. That was one of our 12 games, so we got to really be able to turn the page. Got another huge challenge this week. Florida's an incredible team. Coach Mullen and his staff have done a great job in his 4 years there. They've recruited very well. They've got the size, speed, athleticism all over the field. Definitely presents a lot of challenges for our offense, defense, and special teams. I think for me, it starts with being able to stop their running game. They had over 400 yards rushing last week, and I think that starts with their offensive line. They're really talented up front. They've got 4 or 5 backs that are very, very talented, both size and speed, and then both of their quarterbacks are tremendous. And those guys, anytime they pull the ball, they have a chance to score at any moment. And then I think the next thing for us offensively is to be able to find ways to run the ball. I think looking back at last week, a lot of our 3 and outs came because we had 3rd and longs, and it's hard to really convert on 3rd and longs if that's what situation you're in. This group right here, they're so talented at the defensive end spot that you don't want to be in 3rd and long. I think just about every time they had a drop back last week, it was bad things happened for the other team. So in order to keep yourself out of 3rd and long, you got to find ways to run the ball and be in a manageable position on 3rd down. And then special teams, they're very fast. They get down the field. We're going to have to do a great job with our alignment assignment, with our eyes, and being in the right place. So yet another challenge, but one our guys are excited about turning the page and looking forward to being home this Saturday. So with that, I'll open it up for any questions.
Jeff, you said many times it's really important for your team to concentrate on how it can get better and not worry about what the other team can do. With all the talk that's going to be going on, how confident are you that going into this team will be able to shut all that out and just work on its own stuff?
Yeah, and that's the next step that we have to take as a program, is to be able to do that. I think, coming off of last week, whenever the guys went back and watched the film, and truly were able to see that there were opportunities there. I mean, I've been in games where you got beat by a lot, and the other team was just, bigger, faster, stronger, whatever, and it wasn't even close. And that was not, NC State's a very talented team, but when we watched the video, I think even though our guys, should be disappointed in the way that we played, I think there was some optimism there in seeing that the plays were there. And literally, it came down to our execution. And so that's really our focus going in this week. If you sit there and stare at them, they're going to win the beauty contest for sure out there in pregame and on the field because of the size and athleticism their guys have. So we can't get distracted by that. We really have to stay focused on us. And really, that's something that we've got to be able to do each and every week, regardless of who you're playing. This will be another opportunity to do that, and really is the focus of this week going into it.
Do you think Cade will be able to shut that game out? And do you see, just from talking, do you see him being able to move forward?
I hope so. I'm expecting him to. We're going to put him out there as our starter this week as well. The disappointing, I know Cade, there's nobody more disappointed in a slow start than he was because he really has had, y'all heard me talk about it a lot, he's had an outstanding fall camp. But sometimes even as coaches, we have to remember, even though we look at him as an older player, he hasn't played much ball. That's the first time he's been in a road game maybe ever in his life as a starter. I don't know. So, so that happens a little bit, but, I felt like Cade settled down whenever we put him in later in the game. He settled down, and I wish we could have put it in right there at the end to finish off that drive. But he showed better decision-making, knowing where to go with the ball, and execution there. So hopefully, that'll be a learning experience for him and everybody else. I mean, it wasn't like he was the only one, but obviously that position has the most eyeballs and really controls the tempo of your offense.
You expect to play both quarterbacks?
I do, yeah, I do. We're going to let Cade go out there first, but we were planning to play Timmy last week. We weren't planning to play him as early and on a regular schedule. We had some packages and things for him, but really just after struggling getting anything going there in the first quarter, we decided to change it up. And I felt like Timmy did a good job with a lot of things. He made some nice throws and could add some things with his feet. The biggest disappointment there was the turnovers, because we drive down, get in the red zone, and then he just forced some throws that did not need to happen there in the red zone, and took away opportunities to get points. And so the message to him is, when you get back out there and get another opportunity, we got to finish those drives, and we got to make better decisions with the ball. And I'm confident he will as well. Both him and Cade are talented players. They have a lot of pride in what they do. They work extremely hard preparing, and I expect both of those guys to play better this week.
Coach, early in the game, you got them in a third down and you deflect the pass. 99 times out of 100, it either gets intercepted or falls to the ground,
Yeah.
and it goes and gets a completion and it keeps the drive alive. You could just see your defense, almost like the air went out of them, like, is it
Yeah.
going to happen again? Did you feel the same way?
It was unfortunate, absolutely, but it's football, right? Sometimes. I think back to a year ago against Citadel, there was something crazy happened on their first punt, and we catch it, and we got OD had the shortest punt return in history of college football, 0 yards. So those things happen. I think the message to our guys is, when you play hard and you play fast, and more times than not, you're going to be around the ball when those opportunities happen. And those are, guys did a good job deflecting the ball, and their guy jumped up and made a play on third down. And I don't spend a lot of time dwelling on that. I spend more time talking about the penalties that we had. On several times there was 2 key penalties that we had on defense that kept them on the field, that led to touchdown drives. And again, that's kind of going back to, those are things that we can control. The other play we really can't control. The ending of that we can control, being disciplined and not having the foolish personal foul penalties that kept the defense out there and led to touchdown drives.
When it comes to using multiple quarterbacks, what are the kind of things that you consider about doing it? I'm sure on one hand, they both have different skill sets, you want to get them in, but there's probably a rhythm factor in it too, right?
Yeah, I mean, we're not playing both quarterbacks because we think it's the best thing to do for us to win the game. We're playing both quarterbacks because we're trying to figure out who our starter is. Trey Marsh is another guy that could play. So I think sometimes you may be in a situation, where things are going well and you want to play multiple guys, and that's fine. I think for us right now, I've said it before, we're using these first 4 non-conference games. The ultimate goal is to be able to have our starting quarterback really emerge and feel confident going into the SMU game with who that is. So I was expecting last week for Cade to go out and play well, not perfect. I didn't expect him to play perfect. There's never been a perfect game, but expected him to make a little bit better decisions there early in the first quarter. And he'll get another opportunity to do that, on Saturday.
But just so I'm understanding,
Yeah.
Once you get to conference play, you want to have one guy and go with it, not you 2.
Yeah, I want to have one guy right now, but we don't. But knowing where we are and knowing going into this season that neither Cade nor the other guys had really played a whole lot. I've been through this before with Deshaun Watson, with Trevor Lawrence. I mean, it was game 4 on both of those guys, I think, before they truly took over as the starter, and we knew who our starter was. But I would love for that to be established Saturday, because one of those guys goes out and plays well, and it's obvious, and that's who we're going to move forward with. But after the first game, we just did not come out of the game feeling confident that we know for sure who our number 1 is for the season.
So this is something that will be determined by game performance. That's how you'll know.
Yeah.
Not practice.
Yeah, I think that the practice performance determines who goes out there first, and Cade's earned that from all of his practice and what he's done in the off season. But now when you get to the season, now the next level turns into game performance, and that's really at every position as well. There's other positions, other guys are being evaluated here as we go in the year. There's only so much you can do in practice. We try to put guys in pressure situations and intense situations, but there's nothing like getting out there in a game. We just happen to be playing two challenging opponents the first 2 weeks. So it kind of, comes a little bit more to life here early on, but it's going to make us stronger, make us a better team as we move forward.
I mean, and Florida's got their own competition going on right now as, Anthony Richardson pushed the needle last week against FAU. I mean, when you look at their sideline between those two guys, how do you, obviously you got to prepare for both of those guys, just, how do you do it?
Well, they're both very similar in the fact that they're excellent runners, and they both can throw the ball and stretch the ball down the field. To me, I think it's a bigger challenge if you have one that's maybe a pro style, just drop back passer, and that's all he does, and the other guy's a runner. I think that kind of, you have to split up your prep. But with both of those guys being super athletic, they love having the ball in their hands, and both of them can score anytime that they pull the ball. We've got to really, we're kind of preparing, for the same quarterback regardless of either of those guys, because you watch the film, both of them are very, very similar in a lot of things that they do.
Coach, your teams want to play big boy football against you, just run a tackle down your throat. How do you defend that?
Yeah, well, it comes down to defeating blocks, and I felt like there was times Thursday night where we did a better job against the run than maybe I'd seen last year. I think ultimately we just weren't consistent enough. I think part of it too is offensively, with as many 3-and-outs as we have, we just kept putting the defense out there. It doesn't matter how good your defense is, when you keep putting them out there in tough situations back to back. Unfortunately, we're kind of in a situation very similar to last year depth-wise. I think we played 16 defensive players last week. So with guys out and guys not quite ready to go play yet, I think that affected us. But ultimately, the way you stop the run is everybody's where they're supposed to be, and then they make the tackles. And when we were in the right gaps and we made the tackles, we had some nice tackle for loss or tackle for no gain or short gain. And then when guys were not in where they're supposed to be against talented running backs, it was a touchdown, or it's a 40 or 50 yard. We had 8 big plays that we gave up in the running game. And so going back and watching the tape, it was from poor alignments and guys not finishing the tackles and getting the guys on the ground.
Are you maybe finding that you're not quite as far ahead as you were at this time last year in terms of trying to establish your number one starter?
I think we're definitely further ahead than last year. I think the difference is we opened up against NC State instead of the Citadel. I think that to me, it doesn't even feel like last year. I feel like we're, from a team standpoint, we're further ahead. I think we just didn't go out and execute in our first game against a very talented team. And time will tell. I personally, I played NC State every year for about the last 10 or 11 years. I think they're a top 3 team in their league this year. I think at the end of the season that'll prove to be the case. And when you don't execute versus a very talented team, then it really shows. And I think that's more of what happened, the combination of that last Thursday. But I feel like we're better overall, in some areas, but we didn't show it when it mattered, on the field. And so that's what gives me optimism as we go into the next, few games. Is I know we're definitely more capable. Where maybe last year, if we didn't play well, I don't know how much better we could get just because of some of the deficiencies that we had. But this year, we're definitely a lot more capable to play better than we did on Thursday.
How hard is it to convince the team that, okay, maybe not let all the air get sucked out of the room, considering, you play at NC State and then it gets actively harder?
Yeah, I mean, it's tough. I mean, you look at the last 3 years, I mean, these guys have been through a lot. There's been a lot of adversity, and I think for us, the frustration is trying to get over the hump. And the message to the guys is, the way that you do that is you get better at what we're doing, and you can't get distracted. I mean, the only way we're going to change our team and our program is from the inside out. And that's from everybody doing a better job as coaches, as myself and our staff and all of our players really focusing on what's important and how we execute, how we do what we do. And then eventually, if we do that consistent enough, then we're going to see the success. And I think, that's what I want for our players more than anything, is I want them to be able to see the success, because I know with everything else that, we've done, that we'll be able to really build off of that. But we just haven't had opportunities for that, and a lot of that's on us with our lack of execution.
Coach, a home game with a packed house, how important is that right now?
Yeah, it's great. It's more fun if we go out and play well, but there's no doubt about it. I mean, last year obviously is what it is. It was fun playing at NC State. They had a great crowd there, and just the energy of actually having fans in the game and all that. And obviously, we didn't play as well as we wanted to, but that was different. It felt different in a good way. And so I'm excited about the energy that's going to be there Saturday. I think it'll be great for Tampa. I think it'll be great for our team and our program to be able to host a program like Florida here. And my focus is on getting our team to be able to go out and execute and play a good game.
You feel confident that the quarterback situation will be resolved one way or another by SMU?
I do. I feel confident that it'll, that at the very latest, that would be the case. Because I'm confident in the guys in that room. And ultimately, they got to go out and do it. But I'm a lot more confident in that room this year than I was last year. And again, those guys didn't play up to their potential, but they weren't the only ones. And it was the first time out there and all that. But we're going to get another opportunity here Saturday, and then we'll have 2 more opportunities before we start conference play. And I am confident that somebody in that room will separate and be able to lead our team.
Yeah, there was some players tweeting during the NC State game about the sideline policy that you've enacted for former players. If you could dive into kind of the reasoning as to why only former NFL players.
Yeah, and the biggest thing is I just have experience from where I've been. In Clemson we had a lot of former players, and you only have sometimes you only have 4 or 5 sideline passes. So the guys that had open weeks or bye weeks in the NFL that couldn't get back to a game and be their only ones, and sometimes we were able to get those guys on the field. But that's kind of what I've done in the past. Everybody has the same issues. I'm not really sure exactly if we're going to be able to have anybody on the field sideline wise, because we're still dealing with COVID and all those protocols. But yeah, just kind of going back to my previous experience of where I've been. The hardest sideline passes were those playoff, we're in the playoffs every year, so those playoff games, you had a lot of guys trying to get back, and they only gave us 4 or 5 passes. So ultimately, we gave those to the guys that were actively in the NFL that were trying to come back during an open week.
Obviously, you guys are this is an alumni weekend, welcoming everybody back. Have those former players been contacted regarding tickets or something of that nature?
Yeah, we've been contacting and communicating with all of our former football alumni for really probably the last 2 months about tickets and the way they can get access to tickets. And whenever we had our football alumni event last month, we talked about that as well. So I think they feel confident they've been getting communicated with from myself and our team.
Coach, health-wise, any significant injuries coming out Thursday night?
Yes, unfortunately, Christian Williams will be out for a while. He had a high ankle sprain, and so he's going to be out for a little while. I think that was the biggest one for sure that's going to be out. And we still don't know on Pinckney yet whether we're going to get him back this week. We'll know more later in the week.
Jeff, you mentioned that lack of execution, and each of the players that were made available to the media Thursday night said as much. And what do you attribute to that? You answered that in part by saying players were out of position.
Yeah.
What else might have been a factor there?
Yeah, I mean, as coaches, you try not to look for excuses. I could write down a list of reasons why. At the end of the day, it's about looking at it and getting it corrected. And so bottom line, they didn't do it. So we as coaches have to look at how we're teaching things, how we're drilling things in practice, and then we got to make sure that they're going out there and doing it, and then it's on them. So it's on everybody to get